here is the new all women's Japanese wrestling promotion that is based here in the US. So, like, the end of like at the end of August, there were some rumblings that a new organization was popping up, and then on September 1st, this new promotion comes out. They're called Sukeban, and they have this 1 minute clip, and it's just flashing between wrestlers and like anime type stuff, and it was going back and forth, and there's loud music, and it's like really eye popping. And I was like, okay, I want to know more about this. And I had written about it because there were rumors that Bull Nakano was involved in this promotion. She wouldn't be, we knew at the time she was not going to be involved as far as in the ring, but we didn't really know what her, sorry, Miley's nemesis FedEx just left. So across,
no, it's okay.
They were across the street and they're leaving now, and so Miley is mad about her nemesis. It's her personal okay. Cesaro.
Yep. Riley also UPS and FedEx are her dire enemies.
So. Yes, Miley is the same way. Yep. Anytime, and it's gonna get real
trucks,
bad.
Man.
It's gonna get way worse at holidays in the holiday season where they're on my street every single day, sometimes multiple times a day. But so yeah, it was Sukeban. So we didn't know a whole lot, and then they kept releasing like little clips about the factions. There's 4 factions, and so we learn a little bit about the wrestlers, and they did a lot of really cool stuff to kind of hype it up. Then all of a sudden they announced that the day that I should back up. So the day that the announcement was made about Sukeban, tickets went on sale and sold out within 2 hours.
Well, that's good.
Which is insane. This is a brand new promotion. Nobody really knows anything about them. I don't know how many tickets were actually sold because I don't know what the seating setup was. And I think it's Capital was the name of the building that they performed in New York City. So when I was trying to read it and trying to find out some information, it has different setups. So it can hold like a certain amount of people, or it can hold this amount. So I don't know how many tickets were actually sold, but it looked like it was
like Grand Ballroom in Queens or something. I think Brad has been there before. I feel like he's talked to us about it in the past.
Yeah, so it was a really cool setup, and then it was announced the show was going to be broadcast exclusively on TikTok, and so I was like, that's really interesting. But the more I thought about it, like it makes sense because there are like TikTok obviously is probably the most, I think it's surpassed Twitter as the most used app, has been for a while, especially if they're targeting a certain target, which I'm sure is 18.
A certain husband of mine with dog and squirrel videos, perhaps.
Right. Yeah, and then like somebody was like, I was talking to a friend and he was like, yeah, apparently like teenagers will watch whole movies and TV shows on TikTok.
Wow.
Like they'll just watch it on their phones. And so I get if they're going for a certain demographic, like of young people probably like aged 18 to 25, maybe 18 to 30, like I could see why TikTok would be a place. Like I kind of get it. It's interesting. I mean, you are obviously excluding a lot of people who don't use TikTok. But then if it's exclusive to TikTok, I'm assuming there's some kind of financial stuff going in there, and they're a brand new promotion. So you're going to go where if people are going to offer you money, then I can understand like maybe that's what they were going to do. So originally, the only information that we could find was that it was going to be on TikTok and TikTok only. It aired Thursday night at 8:00. So I ended up not watching ROH when it started. I just was like, we'll just go straight in. TikTok has a desktop version, which was helpful, so I didn't have to watch this full show on my phone. It was 5 matches. And so there are a little, so I did a primer about Sukeban for SE Scoops, and
which like I told you, I think I mentioned that I Googled it when I saw it in our notes, because I know I've heard Fumi and Jim talk about it already a little bit, but I was like, oh, I'm gonna Google this, and your SE Scoops was the first article that popped up, so
yeah, so exactly. My editor
from now on, because she knows how to do it.
My editor was like, the next morning, he was like, "This is exactly what I was hoping for. Was that it would be?" It was funny because I do when I was at the hospital, I had my work laptop with me because I was doing some work at the hospital. And so I Googled Sukeban and my article comes up, and then MSN had picked it up. And so because MSN is basically an RSS feed.
Yeah, they are.
They're just a giant SS feed. RSS feed.
Yeah, it's a big aggregator.
And they've done SE Scoop articles before, but as far as I know, this was my first one. So I was like, oh, this is really cool. And so so if you're not familiar,
you got my view and my full read. So
well, I appreciate that. So Sukeban,
all the way to the end.
The term comes from the fact that it grew out of opposition to the American and British occupation of Japan during World War II. And they were like all male gangs and would not allow women. So the women started their own groups or gangs, and they formed Sukeban, which translates to delinquent girl or girl boss. And this is not a night like the girl boss is not. It's not like it's a thing because of the term that's become popular in the last few years. This is like I saw quite a few people use that translation, so I believe it is fairly accurate. And so they would wear their style has changed over the years, but they typically would wear like long skirts because it was in defiance of mini skirts and being sexualized and things like that, and not being allowed to be in groups with men. And so they would wear long skirts, and they would actually also wear the long skirts because they were concealing weapons. They would have bamboo swords, chains, razors, anything that they could hide because they were doing petty crime. And so they were using their skirts to hide it. And then they would wear like so you'll see it in some of the styles of the wrestlers, like there was like some sailor shirts were kind of involved, like that was at a certain period of time, that's what they were wearing. And then sometimes it evolved.
You can kind of tell in the pictures some of their little outfits. I know it's kind of a kooky picture.
And then some of them would wear like short blouses that showed their midriffs, and then they were wearing Converse shoes like in the 60s and 70s. And then also in the 70s, women started dyeing their hair really bold colors, which you will see from a lot of the talent that some of them have really brightly colored hair, especially the Harajuku stars. They got the really brightly colored stuff. And so and then like I saw this from a video and an article I read. When I searched Sukeban on TikTok, the first thing that came up was actually like a little 2-minute clip, like kind of explaining the history. And then there was another article that I found about it. So at one point, Sukeban was so ingrained in Japan that one of the largest groups had more than 20,000 members, which at the time was larger than some of the Yakuza groups, which is insane to think about. So that's a little bit of the background, and you'll see that's kind of the style that they wear in the show, and why the different factions dress the way that they do is because it's because of the Sukeban women that they're styled after. And then like Bull Nakano, some of her style when she wrestled was based off of the Sukeban as well.
Like Bomb Girls and Roller Derby and a lot of the stuff from the 90s that was really crazy, because there was like the one thing where, I mean, Dave talks about this a lot. It's like a lot of people dismiss it in Japan because it was for teenagers, but actually it turned out that no, grown men were going to this and like really enjoying this sort of like crazy style.
Right.
Although I think that Fumi didn't like the name because he said it was like too trashy.
Oh,
he didn't like the association, so
oh no.
I was like, uh-oh. He's like,
no.
But he said it doesn't matter because it's American promotion, so we're not gonna make the connection necessarily. But
sure,
he was a little bit like, meh, it's kind of like not a great like. He was just kind of like meh on the name, and it gave me a chuckle because I was like, I get that.
Funny.
But I understand what they're going for. And also, I guess they're defining their own thing because it's American Joshi is supposed to, which is weird in and of itself. So, who cares? Because I feel like they moved it so they put it on YouTube. You can watch it on YouTube.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. The show originally aired on TikTok, and it was the show for the most part, like in the beginning, it was a little choppy. It would like break up and it would repeat itself, so it was, at least we weren't missing stuff, like it would go back to where it missed. And then in the second match we had some issues with it as well, and then But yeah, so it was really cool. And then what I really loved about it, Veda Scott and Sam Laterna were on commentary. So it's they did have a male ring announcer, and it was a male referee, but everything else was women. I did hear later that Speedball helped agent some of the matches.
Oh, nice.
I don't know if I don't think it was all 5. I don't know if it was just one match in particular, or didn't hear the details. I just saw Scott Edwards tweeted it, that PWI reported that he was involved. So I thought that was obviously really cool because I'm a huge Speedball fan, and then Veda's involved, and I loved her too. And so, yeah, so it was 5 matches. Show's like an hour and a half. It moved fairly quickly. We kind of got to see everybody. There's 4 main factions. There's the Cherry Bomb Girls, Dangerous Liaisons, the Vandals, and the Harajuku Stars. They each have their own. Then there's Stray Cat, who is the youngest member on the roster, and she doesn't belong to any faction. And she just was kind of out there doing her own thing. And then the second match was a triple threat with a mysterious guest. It's a woman named Konami, and my timeline was really excited. Japanese wrestling is one of my, I guess, blind spots. I'm familiar with certain names, but there's a lot of names I'm not familiar with. Apparently, all the women who are in Sukeban wrestle in other companies with like under different names. So basically in Sukeban, there are different characters and different names and things like that. So, but I heard a lot of people were really excited to see Konami, which was great. And so that was exciting to see. Then they did have they kind of set stuff up for the second show. Then we have, so right before the main event, a video airs, and it's just different shots of Bull Nakano. Bull Nakano comes out. She's got full makeup on, and she's carrying this giant women's title with her because the main event was a title eliminator match to crown the first champion, and it was revealed that she is the commissioner of Sukeban. Okay. So that's really cool. Yeah, so she was out there, and she was talking about how she's excited to be back in the US, and she had the belt, and so she came out, and then after the match, they got some of the factions kind of got into it. So she came out and made the match for the next show, which they didn't originally announce, but apparently, again, Scott Edwards is a really great follow for this type of stuff. He said that Konami tweeted on her personal account that the next show that she would be on the next show in December in Miami. So apparently that's going to be the next show. There's not been an official announcement yet, but that's what we are being told.
There you go.
Yes, we still have his name. And also on this YouTube channel, there is Scott did he clipped it from his podcast. There's like a 16-minute video on Sukeban where he explains more about which wrestlers are playing which characters, and especially if you're familiar with Japanese wrestling, I think that would be really well. Even if you're not, that's a really great place. So besides the article that I wrote, I will tweet out the link to that clip because it was really informative, and I really appreciated that he put that out there. And especially now that Sukeban's now it's starting to pick up and word's starting to spread. So there were some links, it showed up on a website that people use if you have a VPN and don't want to purchase pay-per-views. It ended up on that. It made its way to that website. I found it. A friend of mine said he found somebody tweeted it out on a Google Drive link. So people were trying to get to it. So then finally yesterday they did put it up on the Sukeban YouTube page, so that you can now watch the show in full there. So I recommend, checking out. It was a lot of fun. There's a lot of, kind of, I guess they're definitely doing the punk rock feel. It was a lot of really loud, energetic music. One of the factions comes out to The Doors. Stray Cat comes out to Stray Cat Strut by Brian Seltzer Orchestra, which I thought that was kind of funny. One of the groups comes out to Bad Reputation. So it's a lot of fun, and it's I thought it was really exciting. And then I was reading from some people who were there. They were giving out free snacks. They had candy. They had cotton candy and all kinds of stuff. Funny. Emmy was there. Emmy went to support, and she posted a video outside, and there was a really long line to get in, and then she posted a little montage of clips that she took from the show and of the snacks and the giveaways, and Alex, which is her thing is the Queen of the Ring, and she runs Church of Joshi. She was talking about like what a great experience it was. She said it felt like being at a rock show, and it was just, she said the environment was really, really cool. And so it was a lot of fun. Like I really enjoyed it, and I'm really looking forward to seeing where this goes. And now we've got, there's already clearly there's a title now. So it sounds like it's going to be, and it sounds like it's going to be moving to multiple cities if Miami is the next place that they're doing it. So it'll be interesting to see how many shows they do per year and how many, like where they pop up and things like that. Or when you have people like Andrew Zarian pop up. Hey, Andrew.
Holy crap. Look
happy
at this.
Sunday to you too.
Thanks. Hey, happy Sunday.
Yes. So, but yeah, so it'll be interesting to see where Suki Bon pops up. I had a lot of fun enjoying, just watching it and
I'm gonna watch it.